Well, hello from Auckland, where the teams have been named for Saturday's huge game at Eden Park between the All Blacks and Ireland. As you can see, the weather has come out to play again. The sun is absolutely splitting the stones, and I am delighted to be joined by the one and only Liam Napier from the New Zealand Herald. Liam, good to see you again. Good to be back in this neck of the woods. How are you?
Yeah, good mate. Great to have the Irish here and very much looking forward to this weekend.
Yeah, we were saying we got out to Waiheke Island yesterday. It's a stunning part of the world, isn't it? You're obviously from around here. You'd be used to it.
Oh, I haven't made too many trips, but beautiful spots, lots of great vineyards and e-bikes and yeah, lots of fun to be had.
For sure, yeah. We've got serious business though, of course, this weekend. Really keen to get your thoughts on the Dave Rennie era. I know we're only a couple of games in, but first of all, people have seen by now the Ireland team has been named. The big surprise, not surprise, but I guess the big call was that Andy Farrell has gone for Jimmy O'Brien on the left wing, ahead of Jamie Osborne, who started on the left wing in the win over the Wallabies a fortnight ago. He started at fullback last weekend, but I thought perhaps technically finished on the left wing. And Farrell has generally been a fan of Jamie Osborne, but he's backed Jimmy O'Brien, and I think it's a really good call. He's much quicker than Jamie Osborne. He's a more natural winger. He gives you that left-footed option. And look, it's going to be very difficult to stop Will Jordan, I think, either way. But I think it's a really good call from Andy Farrell. A lot of the big guys who missed out last week, the likes of Dan Sheehan, Tyg Furlong, have all come back in. But is there anything in particular, Liam, that stands out to the Ireland team to you?
Well, I think a few things. I think this Irish team are probably better prepared this time around from the last two times they've played the All Blacks. On those occasions, I think it was the first test of November, so perhaps coming in a wee bit cold, where this time around, end of the season, had a good hit out against the Wallabies and then had a refresh, a lot of those starters. So perhaps a lot more prepared and confident coming up against the All Blacks this time.
Definitely more prepared anyway. I don't know about confidence. Sure, there's going to be less excuses this time around. They've actually been really poor in those last two games that you've pointed out. We were both over in Chicago in November at Soldier Field. It was a bit of a damn squib of an occasion as well. The All Blacks, I didn't think played brilliantly either, but they just had that purple patch where they ran riot. Ireland were pretty disappointing. And I think you could say the same the previous year, wasn't it, in Dublin in 24. Ireland just didn't really show up. So while Ireland have had success the last time, of course, when we were here in 22 and they won the series, it feels like maybe the momentum has shifted back to the All Blacks in the last couple of games.
Yeah, I think the All Blacks have won the last three. So
the World Cup, of course, which was tough.
That's right. It was an upset for the All Blacks, given Ireland had gone on that 17 match.
Oh, don't be so modest.
Unbeaten run. Hey, every Irish fan I talked to at that time, it was almost a foregone conclusion. But yeah, having won the last three, the All Blacks start heavy favourites for this game. But look, it's been one of the great modern rivalries, hasn't it? I think the All Blacks edge it now 6-5 in the last 11 years since that win in Chicago. There's been plenty of feuds. You mentioned 2022, the last time Ireland were here. Well, that series win here cost the All Blacks two assistant coaches, left Ian Foster fighting for his job. So some of those memories will be front of mind for a lot of those All Blacks that were involved, despite I guess their recent success and turning the tables.
Yeah, for sure. I remember in 2022, it was like the main news on TV. It was front page news. It was hard to describe it to people back home, the impact that Ireland, not only winning once on New Zealand soil, but then backing it up in Wellington the week later. But I think Ireland are quite a different team to they were. That was a real vintage Ireland team. I joke about the World Cup, but that quarterfinal in Paris was an epic game. The All Blacks were deserving winners on the day, but it sort of felt like that was Ireland's opportunity. And a lot of the same guys for sure are there, but it just feels like even in the camp this week, there's not a nervous energy, but I don't think a huge amount of people are expecting Ireland to win at Eden Park. But fascinated to get your insight, Liam, into Eden Park. We've been writing about it all week. I'm not sure what your guys' take on it has been, but Andy Farrell is just really encouraging the Ireland players to embrace the shot at history, to take down the All Blacks 52 game unbeaten record that stands since 1994. And something I picked up when we were talking to Dave Rennie on Monday, when he was asked about it, he kind of shied away from it and said, look, I don't want to be looking into that because it does you no good. And for me, reading between the lines, he does not want to become the All Blacks head coach in his third game in charge who loses that record.
Oh, absolutely not. Look, these are high stakes. I think Ireland were always going to be the headline test of these first three Nations Championship games for the All Blacks. Look, Eden Park evokes a lot of comfort and confidence for the All Blacks because of that record, whether it's the familiarity of the changing rooms or the historic feats that have happened there previously, World Cup victories, notable successes. But it doesn't just happen, and the All Blacks will lose one day. I remember back last year, and Scott Robertson, you know, it was a very tumultuous tenure, up, down, and ultimately he got moved on, but there was a real nervous tension around playing the world champion Springboks at Eden Park. And for all Scott Robertson's challenges, I think he had 4 victories at Eden Park. So I think there'll be a lot of nerves for Dave Rennie coming to Eden Park. He knows the significance of it, the history, and the fact that it's Ireland, I think adds another element to the occasion.
For sure, and he obviously knows Irish rugby very well from his time with Glasgow, from his time with the Wallabies as well. We've had the All Blacks team has been named. I suppose the big questions on most people's mind back in Ireland at least was who was going to play 13 and what was the makeup of the back row look like. Talk to us about the team, and from your point of view, are any surprises? Tupuvai in the back row, what do you make of that?
Yeah, I think that's the main talking points. This is the third starting blindside flanker of the Dave Rennie era. So 3 tests, 3 different blindside flankers. We've seen Peter Lakai. Personally, I would have started him somewhere in that loose forward trio. He's a very dynamic ball carrier, great at the breakdown. But they've gone Tupuvai, a bigger presence. Look, he's played his best rugby for the All Blacks at lock. He has played blindsides under 2 previous All Black coaches with mixed results. His last test at blindside for the All Blacks was against the Pumas in Argentina, the loss in Buenos Aires when he was one of 3 players yellow carded. To me, it says that they perhaps want to challenge Ireland's set piece, have a bit more size in the pack, and then later in the game, they've named 2 loose forwards, Peter Lakai and Anton Segner, who made his debut, the first German-born All Black last weekend. So I think they'll try and lift the pace and tempo in that final quarter and perhaps look to challenge Ireland's conditioning.
Yeah, the Ireland set piece hasn't been great, I think it's fair to say, over the first 2 games of this tour. I think it was a no-brainer that Ireland started Tadhg Beirne in the back row and the blind side. It means that you now have 3 locks, which is exactly what the All Blacks have gone for. So I think, look, it's the same in every test match. The set piece battle is going to be absolutely crucial. I think Tom O'Toole at loosehead for Ireland, he's still switching across from the tight head side, and I think the All Blacks are really going to go after the scrum. Talk to me, Liam, about the halfback partnership, Cam Roigard and Ruben Love. Ruben Love is a guy who, certainly me in the 2022 tour, I just loved watching this guy play for the Maori All Blacks when he played against Ireland A. I thought he was a real star in the making. It's 4 years ago now. It's been quite a while that he's had to wait. But he's come into the summer off the back of a brilliant season with the Hurricanes, and alongside Cam Roigard, who is arguably the best scrum half in the world. I think his battle with Jamison Gibson Park is going to be box office. But how does Ruben Love at 10 change the complexion of this All Blacks team?
He's still in his infancy from a playmaking first 5 test rugby perspective, but he was brilliant for the Hurricanes this year. He brings a lot of pace and an attacking mindset against France and under the roof in Dunedin. He really challenged the line, made some line breaks. I think his game management, his balance between run, kick, pass is still getting there. But you mentioned his combination with Cam Roigard and also outside Geordie Barrett.
Of course.
They all played together at the Hurricanes, so that really helps him. And the other factor in this is the All Blacks going away, I think, from Beauden Barrett, who hasn't featured this series. Damien McKenzie's at fullback, but there's also the shadow of Richie Mo'unga hovering in the background. He will come back at some stage. The other big change for the All Blacks is on the left wing, where Josh Morby starts. In his
Another Hurricanes, man.
That's right, in his second test. Look, he was brilliant last week, set up 2 tries for Cam Roigard and Will Jordan. So he's got the nod over Caleb Clark, which I think was a fine line decision there.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating, the 10s, because I think there's no doubt that the All Blacks and Geordie Barrett in particular, and just mentioning Geordie Barrett, I actually got a chance to speak to him on Monday. We're going to have an exclusive interview with him over the next couple of days. Like, he's had obviously a huge insight into a lot of these Ireland boys from his time in Leinster, but you can be sure that he's going to be running down Sam Prendergast's channel. So will Artie Survey at every available opportunity. But I think the same can be said for Stuart McCloskey in Ireland running at Ruben Love. I think it's going to be fascinating to see who can handle that better in terms of that 10 channel. just in general, I know it's only been 2 weeks of the Dave Rennie era, but what are your early thoughts? I mean, I think anyone who's watched the All Blacks over the last couple of weeks will probably agree that there's been a verve, looks much more like the All Blacks than what we saw under Razor Robertson.
I think there's a clear blueprint, hallmarks there of attack first. The All Blacks made their most passes in the game against Italy last week in the last 15 years. They only kicked 4 times in the first half. So there's a real mantra to keep the ball in hand, to look to use the width, to promote the ball, to play with speed. But it hasn't always worked because they've only been together 2-3 weeks. Growing pains are evident. I think they're still trying to perfect their skill execution, and I think against Italy in particular they struggled to break Italy's resolute defence in the first half, and probably didn't strike the right balance. So perhaps Tupuvai coming in, they're looking for bigger ball carriers, trying to get on the front foot a wee bit more. Look, I think positive signs, but there's still definitely patchy elements of this All Black team. So maybe Ireland get them at an opportune time.
Well, when I was buying my ferry ticket to Waiheke Island yesterday, the woman said, "Oh, you're Irish, are you here for the game?" And he said, "Yes." He said, "Are you worried?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "You should be." So that's how the Kiwis are feeling. Give me, what are you thinking in terms of a prediction? Like, I think Ireland are considerable underdogs for all the reasons we've outlined, but how confident are you?
Look, I'm a bit nervous. I don't think we've seen the best of this All Black team. It's still early days. So, look, I'd tip the All Blacks by 7, but I could see it being very tight and tense. You've got to remember 2 weeks ago, Dave Rennie's first test, a heavily weakened French side missing 8 top 14 finalists, and that was a kick, a movement, a disallowed try away from an opening loss. So this All Black team got a lot of upside in them, but I think they're a long way off that yet. So I think it'd be a great occasion, and the All Blacks just to sneak it.
Well, all I'm taking there from that, Liam, is Jim Carrey's character in Dumb and Dumber. So you're telling me there's a chance?
There's a chance, always.
I think every Irish supporter would definitely take that, in terms of, it just shows, I think, how far Irish rugby has come, that, you know, you're saying Ireland do have a chance of winning at Eden Park. And the shot of history, you can imagine Andy Farrell is just tapping into that all week. It's going to be an unbelievable occasion. It's kicking off at 8:10 in the morning Irish time on Saturday. But make sure you stay tuned to the Irish Independent for all the best coverage of the Nations Championship.